As Hijikata-san's page, I spent every day assisting him in his duties. Since coming to Ezo, he seemed much more at ease during the daylight hours. Perhaps there was something about the northern climate that was affecting his fury blood. My job saw me spending more time around Hijikata-san than I ever had before. It was interesting, to say the least. He began treating me quite nicely. I felt a little bad that I was getting spoiled, but whenever I was around him, my heart pounded. My breaths became quick and shallow just by being in his presence. One day, just after the beginning of the new year, Otori came to visit Hijikata-san. Please, have some tea.
あ、お構いなく。土方陸軍奉行並みの小将は優秀だね。こんな子、どこで捕まえてきたんだい？
そいつは俺に連絡なしに勝手に辞令を出した誰かに聞いてくれ。
僕は気を利かせたつもりだったんだけど、羨ましくなってきちゃったな。
Otori was playing wingman, alright?
可愛くて海外しい小将さんなんて文句のつけようがないよね。
No, My cheeks felt like they were burning up. I tried frantically to busy myself with the tea. I was hoping, perhaps senselessly, to avoid meeting anyone's eyes. Hijikata-san glanced at me for a moment, then back at Otori, his face calm and serene.
まあな、こんな奴がそばにいてくれるんなら、もう他の故障を置く気にはならねえよ。
I nearly dropped the tea. Those words out of his mouth. Otori-san also looked rather surprised, but quickly raised his cup to his lips in an attempt to hide it. I felt as if I should say something, but when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. My heart pounded so fast.
まさか土方くんがそこまで言うとはね。僕も彼女みたいなお嫁さんが欲しいよ。
Otori! Buddy! What has this come to? What? I actually, to be genuinely honest, I'm surprised at Hijikata-san right now. What?
悪いが他を当たってくれ。こいつは俺のもんだ。手放すわけねえだろ。
Sir, do you know what you're saying right now?
のろけられてしまったね。
My face was growing hotter by the moment. By now, my ears were probably the same shade of brilliant scarlet as my cheeks.
土方くんがこんな調子じゃ、あんまり長居すると怒られそうだね。
Otori! Otori! Yeah, get your ass out of the room now, buddy. With a one last grin at me, he turned to Hijikata-san. When he spoke, his voice was grim.
本題に入るけど、奴ら来ると思うかい？
来るさ。雪が溶ければすぐにでもな。
土方くんが言うなら間違いないな。実はね、僕も同じように考えていたんだ。榎本さんは話し合いで解決したいらしい。でも僕はまず戦争になると思ってる。
戦いになるだろう。新政府が俺たちを見逃すとは思えね
え。At last, I understood.
榎本さんたちは反対するだろうが、 俺たちは春までに戦支度を済ませておくべきだな。
そのあたりは心配しないでくれ。根回しは済ませておくよ。
しかしこの蝦夷に来てあんたと意見が合うとは思わなかったな。
そうだね。今だから言うけど、最初に会った時は面食らったよ。
そりゃこっちのセリフだ。いきなりシェイクハンドがどうのって言われた時はどうしようかと思ったぜ。
僕は生まれつきの武士じゃないからね。
俺もだよ。もともとは玉の百姓のせがれだからな。
でもそんな君が今は誠の武士として皆の尊敬を集めている。生まれなんて関係ないさ。大切なのは志だよ。
Otori-san and Hijikata-san were two very different people, but listening to his passion as he talked, there was no doubt that he was similarly admired by his men. His words resonated with me especially. I was born into a family of demons, but here I was. All my life, I thought I was human, nothing more, nothing less. But the truth in this discovery gave me life beyond who I thought I was, and they accepted me.
僕たちは自分が信じるもののために戦う道を選び取った。自らの足で歩んできた道の先が今に続いてたってだけの話さ。
何があろうと俺たちの志は絶対に折れねえ。視力を尽くして最後まで挑み続ける。
同意するよ。邪魔したね。
He bowed to both of us, stood up, and let himself out. There's going to be a battle? Oh, I set about clearing the teacups.
千鶴、来い。
He turned and stepped out of the room without ever waiting for my response. Huh? I set the teacups down again and trotted after him. Outside, the wind was frigid. Without thick clothing, it cut straight through to the bone. We looked out over Ezo, blanketed in snow.
向こうに山が見えるだろう。
Some miles distant, a row of snow-covered peaks thrust their way up into the stale gray sky like jagged teeth.
奴らはあの山を越えて函館に迫ってくる。
Why not from the ocean? They'd have to come by ship. There was no other way to Ezo. That meant they'd have to land somewhere to unload troops, so I assumed they'd try and take the port first.
真っ向から挑んでくるほど向こうもバカじゃねえさ。戦いってのは敵の弱点をつくもんだ。新政府軍がこの蝦夷地に攻め込むなら、乙部や江差のあたりから上陸するだろうな。
Otobe, a famous beach destination on Hokkaido's Takushimi Peninsula, closer to Hakodate. Esashi, a port town facing the Sea of Japan in southwestern Ezo.
函館港には遠洋から砲撃を加える。俺たちは挟み撃ちされるってわけだ。
We were at a disadvantage then. Isn't there anything we can do?
残念だが、海からの攻撃は止められねえ。船での戦になりゃ押し負けちまうからな。この五稜郭は最後の戦場になるだろう。俺が武士として刀を抜くのもここで終わりだ。
Hijikata-san. Did that mean he believed he would die? I was desperate to talk about something else. It could have been anything else, really, so I said the first thing that came into my head. So, if they don't come, then what will you do? There was no doubt that they would come, but I couldn't help but dream that maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't.
奴らが来なけりゃただ終わるだけだな。新選組がいらねえ時代が来るってことだ。
A new era where samurai weren't needed? Where men were no longer compelled to draw swords against one another? Could such a future ever come to pass? I felt my heart swell with a desperate hope that it might. No sooner had we stepped back into the inviting warmth of Hijikata-san's office than his expression suddenly shifted. Round 5. His body changed as I watched, his fury nature forcing himself to the fore. Hijikata-san!
蝦夷地に来てからは随分調子が良かったんだがな。俺の体もそろそろガタが来たようだ。せめて春まで持ってくれるとありがてえんだがな。
Did he mean that he was ready to throw away his life so long as he lived to fight in one last battle? Please don't say that! And as always, didn't I tell you why I'm here? I unbuttoned my collar, exposing the pale flesh of my neck, and stepped towards him. Please don't say you just want to live until spring. I need you to live longer than that. Much longer. Tears fought to get out, but I swallowed and pushed them back. I'm not going to let you go.
怖え女だな、お前は。
He smiled, although the pain twisted it into a heart-wrenching grimace. His hand clasped my shoulders, and I felt his lips brush my neck.
こうして血を飲むのは久しぶりだな。
I blinked. You haven't had any since you left me back in Sunday? He felt silent, and I guessed I was probably right. Why? I almost asked why not, but it was probably for the best that I didn't. He likely wouldn't have answered. I somewhat suspected I already knew the reason. If he only cared that his body lasted until spring, then he likely hadn't been taking care of it. That stubbornness of his was a double-edged sword, to be sure, but it was part of what made him him. I wouldn't have changed it for the world. My blood must taste awfully good. I felt him step suddenly for a moment, surprised, but his lips stayed pressed against my neck. Because, you know, I'm a demon. In fact, it must be so good that you don't want to drink anyone else's blood. He let out a soft snort of surprise.
そうかもしれねえな。
When his lips touched my neck again, they felt very, very gentle. February! I'm gonna run out of water. Sumimasen.
Oh.
Hijikata-san's eyes were fixed on a stack of documents, and I mustered a troubled smile back at him. This was a familiar scene for me whenever I found him in his office in Goryohaku. Kaku, as it seemed his work ethic was the same as it ever was. Knowing him, he'd been going at it since the morning, and he must have been exhausted. Even if I was worried he'd find me obnoxious, I placed Hijikata-san's teacup beside him as he scribbled furiously into a piece of parchment.
なんだこりゃ。俺は茶なんざ頼んだ覚えはねえぞ。
I know, but I took the liberty of making you some. He knows. Hijikata-san scrunched his nose and he finally looked up at me as I flashed him a bright grin. I wasn't afraid of him anymore, even if he glared. Well, for now at least.
疲れてねえから心配すんな。俺には机仕事が向いてるんだよ。
You think, huh? Well, it's true that your duties here in your office are very important, but it's not like I could imagine a job or position that you wouldn't be cut out for.
あるに決まってんだろ。人前で喋るのは面倒だし、腹の探り合いも好きじゃねえ。
Alright. I suppose for Hijikata-san, loathing a profession never got in the way of completing his duties. I was certain that he had a knack for public speaking, let alone balancing the emotional stress that comes with managing a large group of soldiers.
だから俺の苦手な役割を肩代わりしてくれてる榎本さんや大鳥さんにはそれなりに感謝してるんだぜ。
Yes, but in return, you're the one who's in charge of managing all the subordinates, right, Hijikata-san?
持ちつ持たれつだしな。長いこと鬼呼ばわりされてたからどうにも調子が狂っちまうが、もう誰かを怒鳴り散らす理由も鬼でいる必要もなくなっちまったしな。
His purple eyes glared towards me with an exceptional gleam, and it was like he was a completely different person from the man I met all those years ago in Kyoto. It was true. Hijikata-san was no longer the demon vice commander, and it seemed he discovered an inimitable truth. The practice of self-love was deeply fulfilling.
どうした？俺の顔に何かついてるか？
Oh. I was wondering when people started calling you a demon. Was it from when you first moved to Kyo, when you were all working to establish yourselves? Oh. Of course, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
そのうち話すきっかけができたら聞かせてやるさ。そう面白い話でもねえがな。
Alright, we're gonna get an answer. Are we getting an answer? We're not getting an answer, are we? March 1860. News of the Imperial Army's plan to strike Goyo-Kaku reached our scouts. The former Shogunate Navy flagship back in Ezo, the Kayomaru, was sadly sunk in a naval offensive. Oh no! A piece of information that proved unnerving was the news that the Imperial Army was sending a brand new ship, rumored to be even bigger than the Kayomaru. News of this, perhaps unsurprisingly, deeply unsettled the members. Of yawning, as I do. News of this, perhaps unsurprisingly, deeply unsettled the members of the Republic of Ezo.